Bases dropped on a new round of SDH AM, and if I could find my picture, we'd be doing okay. So where are we here? Show camera. There it is. All right. Now, welcome. Nothing like being able to finally see what's going on. Hi, yes, the base has dropped. Well, good morning. It is that time of year where we are going to kind of be touring training camps, and we will go into a Das Sound machine and let you know what's going on in and around a bunch of different places. Today is no different. And it'll be an opportunity for us to drop into New England, catch up with Brooklyn Reigns and the Revs, and it'll be an opportunity for us to catch up with the women's national team, Emily Sams and Olivia Moultrie. They discuss what it's like to be in this camp and how that's going to help them getting ready for the NWSL season. Also on the board, it is an opportunity for us to – where was my third one? The new head coach for – the Columbus Crew, and it's a time to catch up with Coach Riedstrom, and we find out what's on his mind when it comes to being a part of something new. And so it is all the things that are going on right now for Major League Soccer and all of the points in between. So it's a big morning for us here. That's just basically a little bit of the rundown today. And to give you an update, obviously, hour number 2 is the Power Hour, and that is when we bring in our buddy Nino Torres from his baking, and we get to find out, what he's baking, and find out how many pounds we're going to gain while we are looking at what he is doing on a daily basis. And it'll be an opportunity for us to catch up with our buddy Niko Moreno from Pulso Sports and Sounder at Heart in Seattle. And it's a chance for us to go around Major League Soccer more in depth with Niko coming up at 10:30. So we go around the world in the last hour of the show. First hour of the show, obviously, we got opening kickoff, and we're going to get into the money aspect of things. And we have a couple of big accounting firms that have their numbers that have been put out for earnings and worth and all these kinds of things. And so one is good if you're into the big money clubs and things like that. One is not so good. And so that'll be opening kickoff this morning. Like I said, we'll get into Das Sound machine here in hour number 1, USWNT out in California, and it is New England and it is Columbus. So that'll be the sound that we get to take in this morning as everybody's now in training camps and all of that. Also, we got to go over what happened yesterday in Champions League. And we got to go over what's happening today in Europa League and Europa Conference League. We got a bunch of juice boxes to get into there. That is a part of that conversation. So it's going to be a bit all over the place. We got our transfer news. We have gossip, rumor, and innuendo that we've got to get into on both sides of the Atlantic. Here, there was an interesting one that came out of the Western Conference. And depending on if we get to it in hour number 1, we'll talk about it a little bit, maybe tease it, and then find out what Niko Moreno thinks about this particular idea that has been floated getting ready for hour number 2. So it is there's going to be a lot of moving parts today. Transfers, juice boxes, recaps, Das Sound machine, and a bunch of different things. And so that is the rundown for the morning. And like I said, when Nino Torres comes in hour number 2, I don't know what he wants to talk about. I have an idea, but I don't know what his rundown is going to be. So the rundown for both of us and for all of us will be the part of the adventure. And so Nino joins us a little after 10, last half hour of the 2 hours is Niko Moreno from Pulso Sports and Sounder at Heart. We'll take the tour of Major League Soccer. My guess is we'll go a little long. And I know that shocks all of you. So good morning. Morning to Will. Morning, Abby. Glad you're in Denver, that you've made it safely. I don't think you're getting back here until Tuesday. So I don't think it's Tuesday. I don't think you're getting back here till Tuesday. Morning, David. Morning, Ricky. Morning, Will. And okay, so Abby with a bit of the rundown for the ISC and letting us know what's going on. Tori Huster, Deputy Director of the NWSLPA, and Connor Tobin of the USLPA. Those will be interesting conversations. And Ricky, after we get in and out of opening kickoff, we will discuss what's going on with the Twos and with Atlanta United. There was some news that came out yesterday. The Twos have a schedule. Some reports that came out yesterday that the first team is looking at a couple of players. And so we'll go over that coming up in a bit. So that's kind of the rundown as we know. And Will, yes. Speaking of power, be safe this weekend. Don't know about Atlanta. In North Alabama, Southern Tennessee, worried about lots of ice. The rundown right now when it comes to the weekend and Monday is still in flux. Most of the folks that we stare at that are weather splainers, usually they like to wait till about 2.5 days before something is supposed to hit before they have their best information. So right now here in SDH HQ, Office HD, we're kind of in still two separate tracks. It could be a little bit of ice, could be a decent amount of ice, and it's more ice than it would be snow and or rain. And then after it clears out the beginning of the week, it's going to be incredibly cold. So the boss is leaving today. She's heading south because she's going to do stuff in her hometown, and I've told her to slow boat it back. Don't rush. She's taking the larger car of the two. She's heading to warmer climes, but I told her not to rush coming back. So biggest thing for all of us, just be safe the next couple days. Today here in the southeast, it is supposed to be heading this way. It's going to be a little wet, might be a little drizzly, kind of a pain in the butt. Take your time going from point A to point B. Please do that. So that's what we're kind of staring at when it comes to the meteorological aspect of things. Obviously, we'll keep an eye out on what's going on when it comes to the weather and the ice and or the snow and or the rain and or the cold. I went out yesterday, 2 days ago, actually. When this stuff was heading this way, I actually went out to the stores and did my shopping then. 4 bricks of salt for the driveway and the front steps, all those things, all the perishable food, all the easy stuff, all of that. I did that like 2 days ago. So I avoided the rush by doing it 2 days ago, thinking that it was going to happen. And so, of course, we'll see what the deal is. Okay. Morning to all of you folks as we go. And Ty Harden, Director of Player Relations for the MLSPA. Absolutely true. Ricky says all the bananas were gone at Kroger yesterday. No real shock there. And so, yeah, Saturday, Sunday, really bad. And, Will, to be honest, there are a couple of guys here in the Southeast. Will says I'm waiting for Span's forecast today. He's got his own gig now. And he's got his own channel and his own platform. So Matt Lobhant, and this is really deep diving into television. This might be, this probably is opening kickoff-y kind of thing. So opening kickoff, I'll go ahead. We'll go ahead and do opening kickoff with weather and forecasting and stuff. So opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Start your day with the most important stories in the game. Right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee is part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala, heavy-bodied with notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff, powered by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee. Okay, so you mentioned James Spann. And also on social media, there was a big event at Centennial Yards yesterday. Our Scott Flood and Jason and Maddie were there, as were our friends from Black Pitch Coffee. So go back on our socials and our IG, and you can see what that event was like. And our buddy Kevin Egan was there, too. So traditionally, there are a couple of meteorologists here in the Southeast that I kind of keep an eye on. One is Spann, and that goes back, and I know that those of you in the state of Alabama, in God's time zone, you've been with Spann for 3 decades. Matt Lobhant is another one. He is based out of Tupelo, and he has become someone who would be a part of the television station that he was at, and he'd been there for, I think, a decade plus. And he'd be on forever with his cast of meteorologists. And Matt has gone on because he was removed from his station group because of cost cutting, and they wanted to do hub weather. And Matt went and started his own thing. James Spann, along those same lines, created his own thing. Chris Smith from Panama City, he now has Panhandle weather. So you're seeing these key meteorologists in these markets and in these areas. They're branching off to do their own things. So if you want to know what's coming your way, it's probably a combination of Matt Lobhant, James Spann, Chris Smith, all of those guys, and they've got their own networks and channels now. So download all their stuff. This is independent, and this is they're not paying me to do it. Download their apps, or have access to their websites at all times, so that way you can see what's going on in the Panhandle of Florida with Chris, in Alabama with Span, and in Mississippi with Matt Lobhon. So they have branched off and done their own things, and so that would be the way to go when it looks like all of the things are coming through. So, there are guys that I watch and guys that I pay attention to. Some have now branched off in retirement, and they've gone on to Facebook. And there are some that I've known for a long time that I'll look at on that social media aspect of things too. So there's this chain basically from Mississippi to Alabama to Georgia that I follow all the way through when it comes to guys that I've known personally and guys that I trust. So that's kind of where I am when it comes to it. But yes, and I'm going to reemphasize this again tomorrow. Be safe, be safe, be safe, because we don't get to talk to you live unless we just pop on Saturday and Sunday. Be safe, be safe, be safe. This weekend, Monday might be an adventure coming out, and if we've all got power, then we'll talk about it then, and we'll kind of walk everybody else through it, and we'll kind of check in on everybody come Monday morning too. So, just follow your sources, check your sources, as we always say. It's almost like transfers here the month of January. Check your sources, follow them, keep an eye on things, be safe, and if you want to just stay off the roads. That's I think the biggest thing as I stare at the Big 55, and we got folks as far back as Memphis that are trying to sort this stuff out. Memphis and Little Rock now with live shots, so we'll keep an eye on all that. Okay, that was just be safe, basically. That's opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. We start your day with the most important stories in the game and the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, a part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala. Heavy bodied with notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff powered by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker, so you guys are going to have to tell me what's going on. Morning Kefsi. So that is, yes, be prepared for the bad. The producer in me from my days in broadcast television, work from a 100% worst-case scenario and come forward. Be prepared if everything goes wrong. What's your emergency plan? And then come forward, and hopefully you get to use less of it as we go. All right, a couple things with money before we get into Atlanta United and Atlanta United 2. And I know that there have been some folks that are on the Twitters and on the boards staring at what's going on with Atlanta United. Some player linkage, we'll get into that in a sec. And obviously with the twos and the announcement of the schedule across the board in MLS Next Pro. And so that's coming up next. Couple of folks with their really big accountancy firms came out with some numbers, and it was crazy to see them. And it's, not necessarily a surprise when it comes to these things, but you've got for the first time in a while, first time in a long time that you have no teams in the top four of the money analysis where you don't have a Premier League side. Deloitte's rich list came out, and Real Madrid and Barcelona are on top. Annual listing of club revenues for the third year running. Madrid topped it 15th time in 21 years, generating $1.3 billion US in 24-25, leading second place Barcelona by more than 150 million pounds. Liverpool became the second English club to book more than 700 million pounds in revenue during their charge to the title, but their income last term was only enough to rank them fifth. First time in the report's 29-year history that no English side was in the top four. So it was Real Madrid, and it's a combination of match day revenue, broadcast revenue, and commercial revenue. Real Madrid at 975, and all this is now in pounds. 975 million pounds. Barcelona at 819. Then it's Bayern Munich at 723, PSG at 703, Liverpool at 702. So Liverpool's number 5, Man City's number 6, 5 million pounds behind them at 697. And then it's just a cast of Premier League clubs. Liverpool at 5, Man City, Arsenal, Manchester United, Spurs at number 9. Chelsea is 10. So literally you had 4. You had 2 from La Liga. You had Bayern Munich and PSG, and then the rest of the top 10 was your Premier League stuff. Inter at 11, Dortmund at 12, Atletico de Madrid at 13, Aston Villa at 14, Milan at 15, Juve, Newcastle, Stuttgart, Benfica, and West Ham. From playing in the Olympic Stadium, I guess. And you end up with broadcast revenue being the big chunk in that middle third for them. But at the end of the day, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams from the Premier League in the top 25 for Deloitte and their rich list. So 9 of the 25 from the Premier League. So Chris Weatherspoon at the Athletic, chunky costs can easily gobble up resources. Of the 10 clubs on the list to have published full accounts, 4 posted a pre-tax loss. We'll get into losses coming up in a second. Barcelona up from 6. They turned 819 million pounds of income into a 7 million pound pre-tax deficit. And once again, they still have all of their issues, even as they boast all of these income figures. Their numbers also included the 60 million pounds in one-off sales of 30-year PSLs at the new Camp Nou. At the new camp. So at the new camp. So that you can't have that again happen, obviously, since it's the 30-year licensing on a PSL. You did that once just to sit there and look at your revenue, and so you had that boost for that 1 year. You can't do that again for another 29 years. So in 2056, you can have that pop up again when you renovate your renovation. But Barcelona was like, we'll do it here. And that gave them that boost for the 1 year to the number where it is. And obviously, the Deloitte document just focuses on revenues. You look at all of the things, and you look at commercial income, highest revenue stream for the third season running, 4.5 billion pounds, just a little bit more than broadcast. That was 4 billion pounds across the board, and then 2 billion in match day revenue. Top 20 clubs generated almost 4.5 billion pounds in commercial revenues last year, up from 4.2. So it was 200 over 4. So it's like 3 or 4%. So growth especially prevalent among the ones we normally see on the list. Of the 261 million pound increase in the sector, 226 million of that came from sides currently in the top 10. So your required reading of the day is going to be checking these numbers. But yeah, 4 clubs, Villa, West Ham, Benfica, and Inter, relied on broadcast income for more than 50% of their revenues. Villa's case, TV money accounted for 63.7% of total revenues. And so there won't be a repeat of last year's Champions League. And so you're going to have, the Villa's going to dip next year. One of 3 Premier League teams to improve across all 3 main revenue streams. Liverpool and Arsenal were the other 2. And so big deep dive there over at the Athletic when it comes to those numbers. Now, the other part of this has to do with the bad side. And it's crazy to think about it. But once again, from our friends at the Athletic this morning, Matt Slater. And Matt, I don't know if you necessarily want Matt to have a byline when you're attached to one of his stories. 9 out of 10 teams in English football's top 4 divisions expect to post pre-tax losses for 2025, according to the annual survey of club finance directors by BDO, titled Defying Gravity. Very nice. The ever-expanding financial universe. The report, according to Slater, paints a picture of an industry depending on regular top-ups from existing shareholders and a constant search for new investment. Spending on transfers hitting new highs in 25, players' wages continue to account for the most money clubs bring in. Across the Premier League, 63% of club revenues are that, but the wage turnover rises in the championships. Clubs are spending 93 pence out of every pound, 93 cents on the dollar, on salaries. And that's just the average in the championship. There are clubs in the past in the championship that have spent $1.6 per dollar on salary and on transfer fees and all those things. So BDO's head of professional sports, Ian Clayton, English game is in rude health. Record-breaking revenues in the Prem, new commercial opportunities for women's football, sustained high levels of interest from international and institutional investors. But below the surface, clubs are facing significant financial pressures, due in large part to the persistently high costs of wages as a proportion of overall revenues and borrowing more. Ever-increasing transfer fees may well be masking the trend. In any other industry, this combination of elevated costs, sustained losses, and high borrowing would be ringing alarm bells. Yet, interest in the domestic game continues to defy gravity. The question is whether the football universe will continue to expand infinitely or whether at some point we may see a contraction reversal or even a big crash. Brighton is, according to BDO, and only a few clubs have published their results from 24-25. All have posted losses. Brighton lost more than £1 million a week last year. Asked about the club's accounts, more than half of the finance directors said their team's finances were not too bad, but yeah, they could be better. Over a quarter said they were in need of attention, and the report noted responses to the question showed a worsening trend. BDO believes responses may even be overly optimistic. Well, because, I mean, think about it. If you're given a survey, somebody knocks on your door and they want you to do a survey, how many of us are going to sit there and actually give the genuine, truthful answers? Someone calls your house and you get duped into doing a survey. Frankly, that's why we give one number that we never answer when it comes to surveys. They always call one phone number, and then we know, okay, so that's a survey. How many of you legitimately give the honest answers, especially when it comes to your money? Somebody calls up your house. Hey, we'd like to ask you about your wallet. Sure. And then you give a genuine answer. No, I don't think you do. I don't think you do. 90% of the clubs say they would need additional shareholder funding in the near future, with just under half saying this may require shareholder dilution due to minority or joint investment. BDO noted the average number of points earned by the Premier League's three newest clubs has been steady and declined for 30 years. Reverse is true for clubs relegated to the championship. Gradual increase in their points, which would suggest the financial gap between the divisions is growing, a point the EFL has been making for several years. And when you look at and we've talked about this, so we'll get into the reminder of what you're looking at in the championship just as an idea. Yeah, it's an enlisted number and put them on a no-call list. Absolutely. Yes, QPR, hello. Sorry, this is an unlisted number. The table in the championship, just to give you an idea. So let's look at the bottom half of the championship table, just to give you an idea. And it is a street fight. It really is. And so the craziness in the division it's just nuts, because right now 6 is the last playoff spot. Top 2 get promoted to the Premier League. 3, 4, 5, and 6 fight for that third spot. The world's most expensive football match, the one that gets promotion. So from 6 to 14, so that's 9 clubs separated by 5 points. And yes, Wrexham is in that mix. They're 9th. They're at 41 points, and they had a 3-match win streak snapped 2 times out, and they once again got a draw last time out. They're at 41 points and 2 points out of that playoff spot. So, I mean, this season I think is a fair expectation of Wrexham competing for that championship playoff position, the 3, 4, 5, 6, not winning the thing, but getting into the promotion playoff. 9 clubs separated by 5 points, but getting to 13 through 24. Let's go 13 through 24 here. How many of these clubs from 13 to 24 in the championship have had time recently, let's say last decade, in the Premier League and haven't been back? Leicester, Southampton, Swansea, Sheffield United, West Brom, Norwich, Blackburn, 7. 7 of the bottom 12 teams have had time in the Premier League and are in the bottom half of the championship. Sheffield Wednesday, Blackburn right now is on the verge of being relegated. Norwich finally has won 3 of 4, so they're out of the relegation zone at the moment. Josh Sargent is apparently, just since we're talking Norwich, he's practicing with the U21 side, and he's been getting into rows apparently with the front office, and so he's trying to get a move done to Toronto. And so we'll see. Maybe Norwich just sits on him just to sit there and say, well, no. But, if Toronto wants to come to the table, I think the number was 18 million. So keep an eye on that. Josh Sargent not playing for Norwich, first team, probably not ever playing for Norwich's first team again. And so he's trying to get a move to Toronto FC. So we'll see what happens there. But anyway, 7 of the 12 teams, bottom half of the championship, they've been in the Prem and they haven't been back. So that's what you're looking at with that particular half of the division. So the BDO survey is out. Let me see if we can find the BDO. Let me see if it is publicly available. English football, if I could spell it, survey. Let's see if BDO has posted it. Yes, they have. Okay, so the annual survey of football directors, and you can actually download the thing. Okay, good deal. 49-page document, by the way. And so it is actually, I don't want to do the Get Media, so let's do this. So if anyone is interested in the BDO UK version of math, there you go. There it is at BDO. So I'll probably go diving into this at some point this weekend just to see what's going on. So, Lokeville. Lokeville wants to know the kind of headset that I use. Okay, so the headset that I use, hang on just a second, I'll tell you. It is an Audio Technica, and I thank Jason for this. Jason got me an Audio Technica headset, and it goes into a Behringer board. So there you go. Okay, so 130 is saying that Tommy Scoops is tying Atlanta United to other players, and so we probably need to go here. All right, so there have been reports. So let's see what. So Tommy Scoops, according to 130, is linking a third player to our conversations. And so Adrian Heel from Barcelona, USWNT midfielder Adrian. So Mundo Deportivo, Adrian Gil from Barcelona. If we anglicize it, so let's see if we can find out where it's posted. Mallorca's run out of patience with Omar Mascarell and Simeone, Mourinho digging at Arbeloa. Pedri in the Canary Islands, Frankie de Jong. You see, they're doing a bunch of things, and so they're not helping me here. So if we do Adrian Gil with Deportivo, and so of course the first search is Adrian Gil Atlanta. So Barca Buzz. Okay, so it is Ferran Martinez at Mundo Deportivo, saying that Adrian Gil, who is 20, is going to leave Barca after 6.5 seasons in the club's youth academy, pending final details transferred to Atlanta United. So that's Barca Buzz, Barca Times, permanent transfer from La Masia, set to leave. Various and sundry folks are not happy about it. And so let's see. So no word on fees, but you're seeing the same kind of folks circle through with Adrian Gil. And Tyler Adams apparently responded to a tackle from 16-year-old Adrian Simon Gil at Barcelona in the academy. So that's kind of where we're going. Okay, so we'll start there with Adrian Gil. Adrian Gil, Mundo Deportivo reporting, he's progressed through Barcelona's academy. He hits the salary cap on the supplemental roster, according to Tom Bogert. So pending final details, that's what you're staring at with Adrian Gil. So let's do a little bit of a deep dive on Adrian Gil here. And that is not the player that I was discussing when it came to Atlanta United, but we'll go ahead and sit there and go, okay, Adrian Gil. We'll look in the academy and find out what the latest is with Adrian Gil. And right now, Remington Ellis Management, Pride of Denver, Colorado, U17 international. He's 20 years old. And another central midfielder. So main position, central midfield, and citizenship with the U.S. and Poland. Most of his time has been spent in the central midfield. He can play right back. His current club is UE Cornellà on loan from Barcelona Atletico. And that loan, he joined back in 25. The contract expires at the end of June. So represented by CAA Base Limited, and he leaves Cornellà, joining Barca Athletic, and so it's back and forth with Barca. So he starts with Cornella's youth, and then Barca's youth on a free, Barca youth, U16, 18, 19, Barca Athletic, and then Barca Athletic and UE Cornellà on a loan transfer, and the end of the loan happens in June of this year. So that's what you're looking at with the transfer history of Adrian Gill. So let's look at the season stats for all seasons. And 10 matches with the U17s, debuting on September 20th of 2022. And so that's where he has been with the academy, and he's been going through Barcelona's academy. So that's where we are with Adrian Gill. So right now, there is no, as where transfer market sits there and they come up with market value. No, that right now not happening. So he's on loan at UE Cornea, and that ends at the end of the fiscal year. So Adrian Gill is being linked, according to Tommy Scoops, Mundo Deportivo, and others, as to already being out the door or being in negotiations to being out the door. So keep an eye on that. But most of the time for Adrian Gill has been spent in central midfield, and he has played some right back. So that is the quick rundown on Adrian Gill from what we're seeing from Tommy Scoops this morning. So now let's go to the other name that was being linked, and it was yesterday, where you had a player out of West Ham, Guido Rodriguez. And Guido Rodriguez is not getting any minutes right now with West Ham. In all of the separate competitions that he has been in, and once again, a 31-year-old defensive midfielder from Argentina, and agent is Interplayers. 30 caps for Argentina, 1 goal in his time. And there were rumors of Juve, Ajax, Sociedad Palmeiras, Gremio, Atlanta United, and Valencia. A lot of those were with question marks. Juve was the only one that had any kind of a percentage attached to it. So the season stats for G-Rod, as we're looking at it, so far this season, 25-26, 8 appearances in all comps for West Ham, played 9 minutes in an FA Cup match, played 86 minutes in an EFL Cup match. He's played 177 minutes in 6 matches in the Premier League this year for West Ham. So he's not getting a whole lot of minutes. He is a 6. Defensive midfield in 339 of the 370 matches that he has played, 24 goals, 7 assists in that time. He has played central midfield, he has played center back, and he has played right midfield in 1 appearance in 370 pro matches. But 339 of the 370 matches for Guido Rodriguez, and Herman Garcia Grova was the first to mention this one. So you're looking at Adrian Gill, defensive midfielder. You're looking at Guido Rodriguez, 31, experienced defensive midfielder, to add to the competition that we're seeing. And once again, remember yesterday also, Caden Moore was loaned out from Atlanta United once again to Philadelphia for this season. So 23 matches in the Premier League last year, 24 appearances in all comps, had 1 assist, 6 yellows in 23 matches, and just over 1,150 minutes. Year before that, several years before that, 23. So he had 4 seasons at Real Betis before that, from 1920 to 23-24. And that was where he garnered most of the goals in his career. Then back in 1920, he was at Club America, and he was there for 3 seasons with Club America. Then before that, he was with Xolos for 1 year. Then he had 16 matches with Defensa y Justicia in Argentina. And before that, he was in the Copa Sudamericana and Argentina in transition, Libertadores and Copa Argentina and the Primera with River Plate. So the career for Guido Rodriguez, River Plate, Defensa, Xolos, Club America, Real Betis, West Ham. And he's been with West Ham. This is his 2nd year at being with West Ham, but he's not getting a lot of minutes. And right now, the market value / profile, as I'm trying to sit here and look at value, and I want to say that it was in the current value of 6 million, according to our friends at Transfermarkt. Current market value at 6 million euro. So that's what you're looking at with Guido Rodriguez being linked, according to Herman Garcia Grova. And then Tommy Scoops this morning, Tom Bogert, mentioning through Mundo Deportivo that Adrian Gill, the USWNT midfielder, progressed through Barcelona's academy, would be a part of the supplemental, finalizing a deal for him. So that's come out in the last, say, 11 minutes or so. So those are the two transactions that you're looking at that are linked with Atlanta United. So once again, midfielder Adrian Gill, U.S. Youth National, Mundo Deportivo reports it first. Progressed through Barcelona's academy, hits the cap as a supplemental. Final details transferred to Atlanta United, according to Ferran Martinez at Mundo Deportivo. So, and he broke that very, very early this morning. So, like what? 9:30 his time, 5:30 our time, or so no, 4 hours. So 4 hours ago would be 5. So 10:40 his time, and in the 10 o'clock hour in Barcelona, and then the 5 o'clock hour back here. So Adrian Gill, USYNT, out of Colorado, through Barca's academy. Ferran Martinez, Mundo Deportivo. Tommy Scoops mentions it and retweets or whatever you do these days. Those are the two players that are linked. Guido Rodriguez, West Ham, Adrian Gill with the Youth Academy at Barcelona. And so those are the two that are linked for Atlanta United. So keep an eye on those two transactions. Also on the board, the Twos came out with their schedule yesterday. And so now we know where the Twos are going to be when it comes to their season, at least to start things out while the World Cup is going on. They're going to be in Athens. And this was announced yesterday when MLS Next Pro came out with their entire schedule. And so the first half of the season is going to be at the Turner Soccer Complex at UGA. Open the season March 1 on the road at the Revs 2. Decision day is going to be in mid-September at OCB at Osceola Heritage Park. So Kennesaw State, obviously, the fraction is not going to be available because of the World Cup. First 8 home matches for the Twos are going to be at Turner. Final 6 home matches of the year, they're going to be played at a site to be determined in the coming months, according to Atlanta United 2. So matches at the Turner Complex, open to the public, no charge. Ticketing information for those final 6, when we know the venue, obviously that'll be coming up at a later date. So you have the season opener on the road, 2 matches against Core and Hunt City in March. Then you have 7 of the next 8 away from home. And we've had this before with the Twos, where they go on the road for long stretches, whether it's one of those ideas of, they're trying to convert the field at the fraction to grass for American football season. There's always that long road trip in there. So the long road trip begins 7 of 8, and you go after March the 15th. 7 of 8 are on the road, away from Athens. Then in that 2-month stretch, the only home match, May the 10th against OCB, that's going to be at Turner. Then 7 of 9 at home in June and July. You get the Fire on June 6th, Chattanooga FC on the 13th. You go to Columbus. Then you're coming back for June and July, home matches all the way through July. Then in August, you get a 3-match homestand in 8 days. You get a road trip to take on Messi and Friends 2 down in Fort Lauderdale, late August. September, you get your 3 matches. The last home matches against the 30th team in MLS Next Pro in Connecticut United. And that reminds me, we've got to circle back with MLS Next Pro to see if we can have their heads of state on the show. Then the Twos are going to go up to Chattanooga on the 13th of September before heading to Kissimmee to wrap things up on September 20. So that's what you're looking at with the Twos this year. Start away from home. You get 7 of 8 away from home starting late March and going into June. And then you get your run of matches at home. Your matches at home, whether it's going to be at Turner, at UGA, or at the venue to be determined, that's going to be back-ended. So your home matches for the Twos are going to be back-ended, but we're going to be covering the Twos like we always do here at SDH, and we're really looking forward to another season of Atlanta United 2 soccer here on the SDH network. So that's your that's what you're staring at with Atlanta United 2 and Atlanta United. So keep an eye on 2 possible transactions, both midfielders, both either central or holding, central or sixes, and the Twos, their schedule is now up and running. All right, 15 minutes away from our buddy Nino Torres to determine what's going on around the planet in a half an hour or 20 minutes or so. and then Niko Moreno joining us in about 45 minutes to take the tour of Major League Soccer. Speaking of which, let's get into the sound machine for today and let you know what's going on. And a couple of stops. First stop is going to be in New England. And in New England, it is a new year, and you have a lot of optimism that is attached to the new setup with Marko Mitrovic, the new head coach for the Revs, stepping into his first season, his appointment back on November the 7th. And so obviously, as the 10th head coach in program history, he led the U20s in the World Cup qualifiers and to the quarterfinals in Chile. And then you end up beating France in the group play and Italy in the round of 16. So Mitrovic was the head coach of the U23s at the Olympics. He has that national pedigree. One of the players that was brought in initially when Mitrovic was named manager, he's like, I want to bring in Brooklyn Raines. And so Brooklyn Raines is now a part of this new influx of talent that has come in with the Revs. And so he was asked at camp what it was like to be tapped by Mitrovic and come in to be this new wave of Revs here in 2026. That's what year we are, 2026. Here's Brooklyn Raines of the Revs.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it brings a lot of confidence. I've known Marco for a while, since I think U17 through U20 national teams, and here again with the Revs. We'd actually spoken a little bit in the off season about him potentially having this job, and that he was a player. I was a player that he wanted to bring in. So I think just within that, just him, kind of sending that message and letting me know that I was a player he wanted to bring in. It's a huge confidence boost, and that's I think something you want from a head coach, is just to have that confidence in you to help you perform. And then if I have any questions or anything like that, I know I can always go to him.
Brooklyn Raines, one of the new Revs, and just to give you kind of the combination platter of everything with New England, Griffin Yao also was named to be a new Rev. And so Griffin Yao coming over in a transfer from Westerlo. So it is Brooklyn Raines coming in a trade from Houston. A lot of money that was attached to that. Ethan Kohler on a transfer. Tiago, whose loan expired. Jack Panayiotou, whose loan expired. Cristiano Oliveira was brought in as a homegrown, and Griffin Yao. Out the door, Brandon Bai, Gonago, Omsberg, and Tomas Shankalai, who's involved in a trade with Minnesota United. So right now, the first match coming up for them was back on the 17th, and it was a 6-0 win over Sarasota. We're going to catch up with Sarasota in their first year in USL League One. Tomorrow they take on FC Cincinnati in Bradenton. Then it's another 8 days before they take on Houston and St. Pete. And then February they're in Bradenton, and then they take on Hartford Athletic. DP slots right now, Carlos Heel and Matt Turner. So they have a DP slot available unless they're going 2 and 4, which it looks like they're going. Langoni, Feingold, Raines, and Dorturgaman right now. So New England going 2 and 4, and they get that extra GAM that's attached to it. So they've got a little bit of over $3 million in GAM coming into this season. So now in Columbus, you have a new head coach, and with Wilfred Nancy going over to Celtic and basically getting screwed, you end up with a worldwide search for a new head coach for Columbus. And Columbus is now brought in Henrik Rydström to be their new head coach. 6th longest serving player in the world when it came to being with the same club. And his managerial career was at Malmo for a couple of years before it was at Kalmar and a caretaker there. He had 20 years as a player at Kalmar. So a lot of his time has been in the Allsvenskan. And so he had a win percentage of 53% at Malmo in the 126 matches that he was there in the 3 seasons, won 67 of 126. And then Rydström was named the new manager in Columbus back on and after Malmo season and leading into the new year. He had his first opportunity to catch up with the media, and it took a little while for him to get all of his paperwork squared away so he could come over to the United States and be the new manager of the Columbus Crew. So he had his first opportunity to touch base with local media and such. One of the questions that was asked of Rydström, obviously with him being in Europe and the team being here and getting ready for training camp and such, what was it like for him to try to juggle the idea of being a head coach, but not being in the United States and trying to head coach Crew at the same time? Here's his answer to that question.
The good thing nowadays, and that has been even better since the COVID, is that we have this way of like we are doing now. We are not at the same place. We can still communicate. So we did a lot of video meetings. Then I called a lot of players. I think what's most important in the beginning is the connection, and maybe you lack that a little bit when you're not face to face in real life. But I think I could get like a good picture when it comes to the persons in the squad, because that's also decisive when it comes to the way we want to play. Now I think the Crew, the success the club had the 2023 and 24. I mean, that indicates something. And then the thing is, in which direction must we go now? When I had the interviews with Mark and Issa, they of course told me the way they think the club should, in which direction the club should go. But at the end of the day, it's my decision. But I could, listen to the players. What did they feel lacked the last season? Maybe can we install that now? And what we have tried to, or what I have tried to do, is to now when we, like today we had the first training, then we directly can go into those kind of things. So it's not that you can do that when you are not in place, but you can start directly when you're here, because you don't need to have those talks and conversations when you are here. Now we will start to implement those things.
Henrik Rydström, the new head coach for Columbus Crew. Now he is with team, and so we're keeping an eye on that as one of the storylines to pay attention to. Obviously, they play Colorado, their first match in preseason, Colorado and Palm Beach on the 7th, and then they take on Nashville on the 11th of next month. Inbound for them this year, Kol Maroka, Siku Bangura, who came in from Hapoel Ironi Kiryat Shmona on a transfer, homegrown Quentin Elliott from IU, homegrown Owen Presthus, given a first-team contract. Same for Chase Adams. Same for keeper Luke Pruder and Zach Zengi, who came in from the Super Draft from Georgetown. Outbound, Derek Jones, Lassi Lapalainen. We all know about Nagbe retiring and Abraham Romero. Right now, they are on the 3-3. Their premium spots, their DPs, Wassam Abu Ali, who in our conversations that we've had with our friend Chris Doran, there's a lot of expectation there, and they're hoping that Abu Ali can be healthy and be that striker up top that they were looking for when they picked him up last year. Daniel Gazdag and Diego Rossi are the other two DPs. Your U22s, Ibrahim Aliyu and Hugo Picard. So it looks like there's a U22 slot available for Crew. And their GAM available as of the posting by the league, a little over $6 million in GAM available to them for their salaries and bringing in GAM and TAM and all the other AM that's attached to Major League Soccer. So that's your Crew. Now, on the women's national team side, last soundbite from Das Sound Machine this morning comes from the women's national team, and with their activities that they have going on out west. Remember, they are 2 days away from their first go-round here in the January window. And it is courtesy of our friends at U.S. Soccer and Veritone. Emily Sams and Olivia Moultrie were asked while they're getting ready for the matchup against Paraguay in Carson, California, Saturday. I was trying to do my math. So 5:30 in the afternoon, Saturday at Carson, California. It is going to be the U.S. and Paraguay in this January camp window. Sams and Moultrie were asked about the benefits of this camp and getting them ready for the upcoming NWSL season. Here's their answer on that.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to jumpstart our NWSL season. I think for me personally, it's great to kind of just focus on what the national team wants from me as I go into my club environment. Obviously, when I'm in my club environment, that what they want takes precedence. But then, for extras and stuff like that, I can focus on what the national team wants. So it's good to get those reminders and yeah, be in the best environment to start off the year. I think that's a great way to get that momentum going into the NWSL season.
Yeah, I always think there is something to take out of the opportunity of wearing the crest and, getting to be coached by Emma and Denise and the staff here and all the analysts. Like, there's always a learning opportunity here. I think it's really exciting to see the opportunity presented to a lot of players in this camp. And it's players that, I've played with on youth teams and just seeing kind of start coming into the league. And so, like, that's fun for me to get to connect with them on a different level and not always on different teams, but getting to do it together. So yeah, there's been it's been very competitive the last couple of days, but it's been really enjoyable, and that's what you want at the highest level. And yeah, it's always fun to be able to be in camp, of course, and an honor to wear the crest, but to be able to start the year like that is the best. So
Olivia Moultrie and Emily Sams getting ready for their work with the USWNT as they're getting ready for things. It's going to be on Saturday in Carson, California against Paraguay, and on Tuesday they're going to take on Chile in Santa Barbara, and it'll be an interesting experience to see what Santa Barbara looks like, because remember those conversations that we've had about where the Santa Barbara franchise is in the USL. And so now what does it look like for them going forward? What is the stadium situation? What does it look like? As Santa Barbara Sky, they had been linked with USL. They were supposed to be this year. Now they pushed it back a year. And so this might be a bit of a dry run when it comes to what you're looking at for that franchise here in USL. So very, very cool stuff there. And it is going to be one of those shots that you're going to be looking at when it comes to anything and everything involving Santa Barbara, California. So we're looking forward to that. Once again, a couple of minutes away from our friend Nino Torres. And then after that, bottom of the hour, it is an opportunity to catch up with our buddy Niko Moreno. So a lot of things going on here in the second hour of the show. So as always, it's great to see all of y'all, and great to see what's going on when it comes to anything and everything going on here on the planet. So all right, couple of things. Let's see. Do we want to do that? No. I'm going to say hi to everybody, considering that we are a couple of minutes away from our buddy Nino Torres. Let me say hi to everybody and go through any of the questions and things that might be on the board here this morning. So it is morning, Abby. Abby is out at the International Supporters Convention, so it's always good to see. Like I said, just be careful coming home. That's all I want. Just be careful coming home. That's all I want. So morning, Abby, morning, Kefsi. And yes, Kefsi, it is scheduling the Holding Midfielder Society annual. Absolutely true. Lokeville, I have not seen that. Where, wait, yeah. So I thought it might have been something new. But yeah, apparently some folks, when they mention comments about what's going on, they're apparently, allegedly, possibly, probably pro John Texter. I don't know who would be in this situation at this point. Morning, Lokeville. Morning, David. David said that things are like the rookie pay scale in the NFL. Veterans in the CBA vote to limit rookie pay. Future rookies, not the union, to fight it. People in the Prem will never vote to give lower levels revenues to make it easier for them to compete. It's the haves want what they have, and they don't want to give it up to the have-nots. Morning 1:30. Morning Kefsi. Let's see. Morning David. Morning Pars. Yeah, this weekend is supposed to be worse than the ice storms of 92 and 96. What does that mean? Snowmageddon and Icemageddon. Snowmageddon, basically, 92 and 96, they were pretty bad. I mean, literally, you're hamstrung for like a week. And people were trying to go on the roads, which was dumb in the first place. Don't. And people are trying to race home at this point. It's like, hey, there's precipitation happening. Maybe I should race to the store, race on the freeway, or race home from work, and not leave work until it's absolutely necessary. And then you're getting caught after sundown with all the precipitation and people thinking they can drive on the roads when they really shouldn't. And then that means that because you have all of these accidents, that you can't have the DOT crews come out and sand and salt the roads because there are wrecks and they can't get anything done. And I know that in some reports, depending on which weather splainer you link to, it's going to be the end of the world, or you're going to be barely touched. My guess is, truth is, as always, somewhere in the middle. So be prepared for icy conditions, icy roads. Make sure you've got all your food inside. Don't know how bad it's going to be. Don't know secondary roads, obviously. For those of us in subdivision, it's going to be difficult to figure out what's going on. So just be safe, be careful. Don't be dumb. Don't be dumb on the roads. Don't be dumb. Morning, Alex. Morning, Ricky. Once again, morning, Kefsey. Morning, Will. Will is preparing for something akin to Snowmageddon. And let's see, Ricky and Alex and Will, the base is dropped in. There we go. Okay, so it is now hour number 2. We have cleared 10 o'clock in the Eastern time zone, which means one thing and one thing only. We start our tour of the planet with topics that I have not seen so we can all react together. Our resident baker extraordinaire is going to be here now. We go to Lima, Peru, and we are now officially fully loaded with our buddy Nino Torres. Yellow on a Thursday, sir. Good to see you, my friend.
Yellow. Soccer down here, fans. Nino Torres with you today. Gladly, with the construction workers moving like a couple miles away from my building. So we can talk freely now. Thank you for having me today, Johnny. Good morning, man.
Good morning, sir. How is the baking this morning? Are you baking yet, or are you waiting until we're done?
I'm sweating, bro. I'm baking 6 a.m., man. 6 a.m. I started because these are my orders for today and tomorrow, right? I got have you tried tres leches?
No, I have not, sir. Jason has, I have not.
Bro, it's just phenomenal. So I got a tres leches, got 4 chocolate cakes going. I got cabezadine, which is it's a northern Peruvian dessert. I got mazamorra, which is made of blue corn. Have you ever tried blue corn?
Long time ago, and it was it was like the corn chips themselves, but not necessarily the corn on the cob. No.
Let me show you. Give me 1 second. Let me show you.
Okay. So now we get to find out what blue corn's going to look like. This is going to be pretty sweet. Okay. All right. So now blue corn. This is something new for me. This is what this segment is all about. When we tour the planet and we get to see what's going on with Nino, and blue corn. And
here we are. Let me move the thing here.
Okay.
Look at this.
Whoa.
It's
wow.
Let me explain it. It's a stew of fruit. That's what it is. It's a stew of fruit. You boil the corn with the cinnamon, with with cloves, with pineapple. You got apples. You got a bunch of things all together. It's just so gluey, so delicious, so yummy, and it's traditional. It's mazamorra morada, what's made in here in Peru. By the way, I should show you a gallon of that thing.
God, that's crazy. As always, you send topics. I don't look.
I spent too fast. Let me close my windows. Hold on.
Uh-oh. Construction dudes are coming. Careful now. Construction dudes are coming. Windows closed. We don't want anybody flying. We don't want anything coming in from the outside to mess with this blue corn.
We're back. Jesus,
we don't want.
I spoke too soon about the constructions, huh?
Well, that you also don't want them messing with the stuff that you're making in the kitchen. You don't want them to touch any of that stuff. It's like y'all over there. All right, please. I have not seen your topics, but I do have a Portugal-based question as a follow-up here. Now that I see it, number 1, Champions League is not made for Benfica. As we are looking at the Champions League, some folks had it rough this past week, and so it ain't made for Benfica, my friend.
It's not, and it's crazy, right? Because such a big club in Portugal, and they haven't even touched the semifinals. They reached semifinals like I don't know how many years ago, but it's kind of the same case, a similar case with Peñarol and Nacional in South America. It's almost similar in Europe with Benfica and Porto. Right, they haven't won the Champions League in like forever. The last time the Portuguese club won it was Portugal in 2004, and since then nothing. All glory. It's like Benfica and Porto are all money, right? You got all money, you got all the castles in there, but you don't have the Ferraris now. You can't afford the Ferraris, you can't afford the Bugattis, you can't, right? You just live in your castle, showing all your all money. It's just all glory for Benfica and Porto. They were the kings in the 60s with Eusebio. But what's the deal? What's the deal for Benfica? And Porto, I know Porto's going to go. Yeah, I think Porto's going to go away trust me on that one. All right, I think Porto could go all the way in the Europa League, but in the Champions League, they're falling behind, and they keep falling behind. And there's all the coaches that they've been in Benfica for the last 5 years. I don't know how many coaches the Benfica has gone through in the last 4 or 5 years. They got more coaches than everyone else in the Premier League combined. Ridiculous. They're bringing another one. They're recycling coaches. Ricos cannot find a way. Just cannot find a way to succeed outside of the Portugal kingdom. Well, they haven't been succeeding in Portugal either. So I understand the frustration from Benfica fans, and I thought he was not going to win, but apparently the social media noise sometimes is not as big as the real noise was happening in elections, especially, right? You see all across social media. Oh no, but Rui Costa is going down. He's going down. No, he almost won by a landslide. So I don't know. In the end, it looks like the sector of fans in Benfica that don't like Rui Costa, they're not as many as we thought. No.
Okay. But Sporting got a big win against PSG yesterday.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the next topic right there. You see the next topic right there. There's Lucho Suarez, right? This is the Colombian version, and I would think this almost not as good, but he when you talk about Luchito Suarez, you're talking about elite, but he's getting up there. And he when Sporting signed him,
okay,
there was a lot of people concerned. Oh, who's this Colombian guy? Is he going to score? He comes from the second division in Spain, and like he's really good because they just let go Gyökeres, and Gyökeres scoring 100 goals in 105 games. So is he as good as he is? And he's on pace. He's on pace. Check the numbers, Johnny. I don't have the exact numbers right now, but check the numbers, the stats, games played, and goals scored by Lucho Suarez. He's gotta be up there. He's gotta be 2-3 points behind the number of games and behind the number of goals. I don't have the exact numbers on the top of my mind. I was following up until December, but I lost track, because not in the league anymore. But I don't know where he's at now. He should be way up there in terms of games played and goals scored and assists.
So 20 in the 25-26 season so far, and this is all comps. He has in 7 Champions League matches, he's got 4 goals. Portuguese League 18 matches, 15 goals. One goal in the Allianz Cup, 2 goals in 3 appearances in the Taça de Portugal, and then the appearance in the Super Taça as well. So you got 30 matches so far in 25-26. He's got 22 goals in 30 matches, 6 assists, all comps so far this year.
I think that's pretty dang good for a striker, huh? When you signing, because he's right there. He's right there almost. He scores a couple of hat tricks, and he's right there with the number matching the games played and goals scored. So that that's the kind of striker that you're having now with Corey. And you know what? You know what's the special thing about Lucho Suarez is that he scores. I mean, every goal counts, right? But every goal is different also. So he scores meaningful goals like this one, closing games. He closes games for you. That's what he does. And when the game is so tight, he opens the games for you. All right, this is the kind of player that you want. You know, it is so complicated. I can't get through. I got it, brother. Let me take care of this. So just squeeze in between the cracks in there, and I'll score for you. Nino, we can close the game. I got it. Lucho, the Colombiano. Got it for you, brother.
Now we go to topic number 3. Cesar Inga and the Lima, Kansas connection. What in the wide world of sports is this about?
Guys, you haven't heard about that? The oil transfer? No, you haven't? What?
No.
We only talk about that here in Lima, Peru? No. What is this?
No, we have not.
So, man, this is and plus I'm mad about this. I don't want this deal to go through because I have a place a bet with a fan on TikTok. He was telling me, he's not that good enough. He's gonna go either to the MLS or to the Liga MX. I was like, no, a ceviche that he doesn't go to those markets. Well, I'm right there to lose the bet. I'm so close to lose that bet because Kansas City. This is the deal, right? So there was an offer from Kansas. I think it was 1.5 in Universitario de Portugal said, we're not gonna sell him for 1.5. No, he's not going. They were like, oh no, but we really want him. All right, but he's not going. Okay, 2 weeks later, they came down to Lima. Kansas City sent their agents, their representatives to Lima, right? All right, what's the deal? How much you want? We got 1.8 on the table for you, and we'll take him right now. And then we can talk about it. Then we can have a cup of coffee for 1.8. Yes, we can. And then the Cesar Inga agent, he was like, no, come on, let's sell him. Of course, he wants to sell him right now because he's gonna get his cut, right? But he was so mad with the first time the Universitario said no. He was trashing the team to the front office. Yeah, Universitario Deportes doesn't allow their players to develop and this and that, brother. 1.5 is we're not gonna do it. All right, 1.8. Okay, deal. But there's one caveat. There's always a caveat. Because we offer you 1. Your salary is not gonna be as good as it was with the first offer. Because we're putting more money down for you, so help us out a little bit. I compromise, you compromise, we make a deal. And then Inga, the player says, really? But come on, man. I'm earning here the 25K a month here. Is that you gonna say no? I don't know. So that's where we at now. That's where we are now. They give it a take. This going back and forth, and I think he's gonna leave at the end. Okay. Yeah, I think he's gonna leave. But there's one more bid coming from the Premiership.
Okay.
From the Prem 4.
Oh.
Put an offer for Cezinga, and Inga's like, oh, wait. How long is it taking here? Premiership, brother. Well, he talked to his agent, and but the agent doesn't want Watford because I don't know why. There might be not a connection as good as it is with Kansas. So in the end, who's getting more worried about the player? Mr. Agent? Forgot his name is I forgot.
It's hang on, because I saw it here. Hang on just a second. It is
they tell him last name or something.
Narciso. Hang on just a second. Because he was making the rounds. He was saying Narciso Algamis.
There we go.
Yeah. So Narciso Algamis was saying that Racing was the first team that took notice of Cesar. They like him a lot. Couldn't be advanced further due to a transfer issue. But
that's the team that I wanted to go, man. I really wanted to go to Racing, but
according to let's see, in 48 hours, the name was heard in the U.S., England, and Greece. And a couple days ago, it looks like that he is linked to Sporting Kansas City. So we'll see what happens there. But, 1.6 was the number that was posted. And first strong offer came from Argentina, although the proposal hasn't fallen through. Indicated highly unlikely that he would be going to Argentina. But, dude, if it's me, I'm not going to Watford. I mean, they go through coaches – like you go through mixing bowls, man. I mean, you break your spoons. You're trying to make your tres leches, and you're getting after it. Yeah, literally, your spoon snaps. The number of spoons and stuff that you go through making your desserts. That's how many coaches they go through in like a week and a half. There's no stability at Watford at all when it comes to coaches. The owners there, the family that owns Watford, they're just like, oh, it's 4:30 on a Tuesday afternoon. Time to change a coach. I mean, literally, it is. They are sideways, man. When it comes to,
man,
you don't. No, Watford.
Don't want to go to Watford.
No, you don't. Okay, so I dug this up just to dig it up. So here we go. Right now, so Javi Gracia was named in October. Paulo Petzolano lasted 10 matches. Tom Cleverley lasted 59. Valerian Ismail lasted 48. Chris Wilder lasted 11. Slaven Bilic lasted 26. Rob Edwards lasted 11. Roy Hodgson lasted 18. Ranieri lasted 14. Xisco Munoz lasted 36. Vladimir Ivic lasted 22. Caretaker for 2. Nigel Pearson for 22. Caretaker for 2. And back to Javi Gracia from 2018-19. So literally that's what you've had in the Javi Gracia sandwich. That's the number of managers you've had at Watford. Don't go. Do not.
Oh my God, man.
Do not go to Watford under any circumstance. Right now, Cesar Inga linked at 1.5 to 1.6, might go a little higher. Okay. I want to save World Cup Chronicles. Copa Libertadores or World Cup, the most nonsensical debate. What is the debate anyway?
I believe it or not, is really hot here in South America. It is hot. It is hot. For me, there's a no-brainer. This is a no-brainer for me. But apparently, I'm the minority about this. It's like, why? I mean, so I'm asking all the Universitario fans, right, every day, and now the World Cup is closer by the minute. They drop this debate again. Would you rather have your team winning the Copa Libertadores?
Okay.
Or your country winning the World Cup? And it's right there, right? So I want to say it's 50-50, 51-49 that the Copa Libertadores is winning the debate. I was like, how in the freaking world can you, what? How can you know? No way. So you rather being the king of the hill than being the king of the world. So for me, there's absolutely pointless, the debate, right? For me. Right, but of course, and I drop it from time to time, the debate, and people that I respect, right? People that I really respect, journalists, players. Yeah, no, I run one team because, and then they say because I don't want them to celebrate with me. What is this? The most selfish wish in the planet for me, man. There's nothing more selfish than that. I don't want to celebrate with the guys from Alianza Lima. I want my team to win it, but not theirs. So what about altogether? You don't want to? No, you don't want that? You don't like that? And forget about the togetherness. Forget about that. You are going to compete with the best of the best in the planet. You're not beating Deportes Tolima here, all right? You're playing against Mbappe. You're playing against Erling Haaland. You're playing against Cristiano Ronaldo. And you don't want to beat those guys? Or they're just like, they feel it. You know what? I think the division is like, it's completely out of the league. The sense, the common sense, the common ground here is that the World Cup is in a different dimension. It's like not even you don't even consider that because you don't see the reality of having to touch the World Cup. And that makes me so sad. It makes me really so sad because there's nothing that I would change for my team, for my country to win the World Cup, man. I would not put anything on the line for that, man. Anything. And there's nothing come close to my country winning World Cup. Are you kidding? No, Johnny, it's true. I'm telling you, it's not 50-50. It's not 70-30. No, it's 50-50. Can you believe that?
No. I mean, look, if you're so tied to your club and your country wins the World Cup, if you don't want to mix with the other teams, it's like you got other teams that you hate and the teammates that they all get together and win the World Cup, then fine, celebrate on your own four walls. Don't celebrate with everybody else for the teams that you hate. Just celebrate the fact that you won. If you got to do it in your own house, do it in your own house so you don't have to consort with those guys that you hate. I mean, what? What? What?
So let's run that.
My head hurts from this. I'm trying to think this through.
I know, right?
Man.
I don't believe it, man. How about this? Drop a poll, man. You go ahead and do a poll, because I want to see what what people from different countries are thinking, right?
Okay.
And from you guys, would you rather have Atlanta United win the, let's say, Copa Libertadores, if they play the Copa, you invite you here, play Copa Libertadores, and you beat Flamengo in the finals, you right win the World Cup?
I mean, what I would phrase it, it's like
run the poll, and tell me.
Okay, I will. I'll run the poll.
We'll talk about it next week.
Yeah.
But
So
I want to know if this is just delusional South American junkie soccer culture or what it is. I don't know.
Okay.
Can't find an explanation for this, man.
Yeah. So what we'll do it in two steps. Okay. So would you rather win the World Cup or win MLS Cup with your favorite team? I guess that's the equivalent, I guess. Or CONCACAF Champions.
Champions.
Right. So would you rather win? Would you rather win the Triple C, or would you rather win the World Cup? So that'll be the question, and we'll post it, and I'll have it as a thought for a week. So when you come back next week, then people can sit there, and we can think about it for a whole week, and everybody can say what they're going to say. That's just nuts. That is insane to me that you would. It's like, yeah, I want my club to win the club championship deal as opposed to winning the World Cup. That is insane to me. No,
absolutely no.
Man, my head hurts. Okay. Last topic is always the World Cup Chronicles, where you come up with a story and you continue to educate us. We're under 150 days. I think it's like 140 now before the world comes to this hemisphere and chases after the cup that the world is wanting in 2026. So you have the most dramatic Italian visit to a dentist. I can't wait for this one. What is going on here?
Italy is not having they don't have even a participation in the World Cup, but lately, but back in the day, I'm not talking about that back in the day. The last World Cup they won was in 2006, right? But in 1966, World Cup in England, right? Probably the World Cup with the most controversies in in the history of the game, I would say, right? People talks about Messi this, Messi that, make the referees and this, bro. Go ahead and pull the archives and pull the records for that World Cup, and that was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. But the most ridiculous, one of the biggest shockers, upsets in the history of the World Cup, given that World Cup, when Italy was ousted by North Korea.
Whoa.
They were ousted by North Korea in the group stage. They say, bye-bye, Italy. They were two-time world champions already by the time. and they say bye-bye. But that's not the deal, right? The thing here is that the man who scored the goal for North Korea, his name is Pak Dok-ik.
Okay.
Pak Dok-ik. He was a dentist. He was a dentist for the North Korean army. So and the army for North Korea got together a bunch of players, and they say, "Oh, who can play? I can play, but you're a dentist. I don't know. Let me play for it." And they selected Pak Do-ik, one of the last minute calls for that guy to join the team of North Korea, and he joined the team, and he didn't have to sit on the chair, but they put Italy with the biggest toothache ever, right? By Pak Do-ik. Yeah, a dentist took you out of the World Cup, Italy. Huh? Wow. A dentist, not a full-time player, not a professional player. You know, they got players from Inter Milan, for AC Milan, for Juventus, and this guy who was running his office at the North Korean army, right? He was the guy who took you out. And the next round, Johnny, the next round in the knockout stage, they almost ousted Portugal. They were going 3-0 at halftime. And they were about to advance to the quarterfinals, but then Eusebio got mad, scored up 4 goals in one game, and it's like, no, bye-bye. 5-3, Eusebio ended up winning that game. It's like, yeah, you're not taking us out. Yeah, no way. But yeah, that's the most painful dentist visit of Italy in the history of the World Cup, man.
Oh man, don't. And I just wonder if if that dentist was sitting there, he's like he's putting transmitters in people's teeth, working for North Korea and stuff. It's like we got to keep track of our players, man. We're gonna put track.
Maybe it's not that delusional, man. Huh? Probably
back in the 60s, no way. Obviously. So, what is going on in Peru this weekend?
Big weekend in Peru, brother. Big weekend in Peru. We got the 2 biggest clubs in the nation. When they're when they're presenting their roster, and also with a game. It's La Noche Crema for Universitario de Deportes at the Monumental. 60,000 people, sold out, brother. Sold out, 60K. And they invited Universidad de Chile to play the first official game of the season. And already played a couple of warm-up games with Sport Boys and with Melgar. But the thing is, they're playing at the same time as Alianza Lima, right? They're doing the 8 o'clock, 60,000 people in the Monumental, and 8 o'clock in Matute, which is the district, not the district, but the neighborhood where Alianza Lima has their stadium, the Alejandro Villanueva Stadium. I don't want to, you know me, I got to throw a little bit to
I know. You're taking your empty bowls, you're filling them with water, you're kind of sitting there and you're going like that out the window. I know.
Just a little bit, right? Because they were offering 2-for-1 tickets because they haven't filled out the stadium, which is, by the way, half of us. It's at 30,000 people fits in that stadium now. Tickets have been on sale for a while. Inter Miami is coming. I don't know if Lucho Suarez or Messi are coming. I don't know about that. There's not confirmed yet. Maybe that's why.
But if they do, it's going to be one of these. It's they may not necessarily even, or if they dress out.
Right. Show up.
Be a cup of coffee, and that's about it.
Yeah. But show up, but then we brought Inter Miami last year, and he came, and Lucho Suarez came. Maybe they don't like the smaller stadium. Maybe I don't know. They want the biggest house in the nation, not just any random. Anyway,
one of the biggest house on the big side of town.
Yes, sir.
The biggest one right there. That's looking only as you can look. As always, my friend. The aperture starts next week, doesn't it?
And the 30th, next week and Friday.
Yeah.
Friday.
when you come back next time, we get to talk aperture, and we get to talk about people who are ringing
preview, season preview. Yeah, absolutely, man.
Talk about that. Talk about Portugal. Talk about Europa League and all the other things. As always, my friend, show us the blue corn madness again. It's off to the side. That's you said that's what about that's like 9 gallons of it right there.
Sounds a lot, man. Like it's for like I think it's how many people in that meeting? I think it's 15 people.
Wow. Yeah, and people in our Twitch pitch are basically already saying that tres leches would be even too spicy for me.
Spicy? What do you mean spicy? There's no spicy.
But that's the thing. It's like I'm not a big spicy food person. And so the running joke is anything that has any taste whatsoever has got to be too spicy for Nelson because he does not dig the spicy. And so literally it could be like, oh, tiramisu. No, that's too spicy. He didn't dig that. So, that's how I'm wired. But yeah, they're absolutely true. I'm not a big fan of the spicy because we got to save the pipes, man. We got to make sure that
I learned that in the hard way. Yeah.
So may the cooking continue. Follow Nino the baker on Insta on the gram, and so that way we can all gain weight just staring at all the chocolate that you make on every single week. We love you very much, my friend. Thank you for the lessons, and thank you for the chronicles, and thank you for the history. We always love to see you on Thursdays. We will catch up with you. May your baking be at the right temperature for the right times, and may everyone be satisfied. We will catch up with you again next week, my friend. Great to see you.
Hey, thank you, Johnny. We'll see you next week, guys. Take care.
All right, there goes Nino Torres, everybody. So the poll. The poll. Here we go. Would you rather? Here's the poll. We're probably going to do it for the week. Would you rather win the World Cup for your nation, or would you rather win the Triple C for your team? That's the question here. Would you rather? And so Tom is letting us know. Tom is in a little early. Yes, Seattleites would choose the World Cup. You guys have already done the Triple C. That's true. So would you rather? Would you rather win the World Cup or the Triple C? Catalucci's saying the Triple C. You would rather have your club win the Triple C. So what I'll do is I'll run this poll for the week, and then we'll sit there and we'll kind of look at the numbers, and then when Nino comes back in a week, we'll let him know kind of what our findings were here as well. But he says it's like 50-50. 50-50 Copa Libertadores and then a World Cup. And then you don't want to celebrate because you don't want to sell. The rationale was kind of goofy for me. It's like you don't want the fans of your enemy's team to be as successful as you are by having your country win. You don't want to cheer with your enemy. That to me was the weird part of all of that. It's like I don't want my hated rival to win as well. I don't want my country to win because that means that my rival might have a guy on a roster, and I don't want them to celebrate. That's crazy. But I mean, like Tom says that you've already, you got World Cup because you've already done the Triple C. So that way I get that. You've already done one, so let's just go ahead and talk about the other. But Catalucci wants the Triple C. Okay, that's interesting. So we will, for this week, for the week going forward, when we have power, we will discuss the poll. Would you rather win the World Cup or the Triple C? So that's out there. So, and if I forget to mention it during the day, then remind me, and we will we'll do that all week long, and we'll come up with from 7 days a week. So 5 days today, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. We'll do this and we'll talk about it, and everybody just kind of chime in and let me know, or do it in the Discord and come up with a number, and we'll do that when Nino comes back next week. We'll give him our findings from our completely unofficial poll as well. And we will do that. A couple of quick things in Major League Soccer. Toronto has announced their traveling preseason roster. They're heading to Marbella, Spain now, too. 32 players, 24 first-team contract to Toronto FC, 2 players, 2 academy players, and the Super Draft selections, Fletcher Bank and Jackson Gilman, and 2 trialists. I don't know if we had the trialists listed by name or not, or if they're just trialists so-and-so. So it is Di Rosario, Gavrin, Zachary and Knockley, who's an unsigned super draft selection or trialist, and William Yarborough. My guess is Gavin and Yarborough. You're going to be your 1 and your 2. 13 defenders. Toronto FC 2's Richard Chukwu, Kobe Franklin, Jackson Gilman, Gomes, Kapoor, Lorea, who just fell down again, Monlouis, Perlman, Pereira, Stefanovic, Cozy Thompson, Henry Wingo, Walker Zimmerman. 9 midfielders, Fletcher Bank, Bossenberry from the 2s, Jose Cifuentes, Simmer Mancic, Coelho, Tim Fortier from the 2s or the academy, Malik Henry, Georgie Mihailovic, and Jonathan Osorio, Corbinu, Etienne Jr., DeAndre Kerr, Hugo Mbonge, who's an unsigned camp invitee, Jamari Nolan from the 2s in the academy, and Jules Anthony Ville-Saint. So that's the run of folks for Toronto that are heading to Marbella, Spain. Charleston Battery have signed Malik Foster to a 2026 deal, adding him to their roster pending league and federation approval. And Jamaican International gets versatility and experience to the attack. 29 years old, 270 matches in this hemisphere and the Middle East, making his debut at the age of 18. Most recently played for Indy 11 in 24 and 25, 4+4 and 41 matches. Joined Indy coming from switchbacks in 24, and his most prolific season was with Sacramento in 22, 8 goals and 26 appearances in regular season and the playoffs. Instrumental role making their appearance in the Open Cup final and converting during the semifinal PK shootout to advance. And so Ben Pierman brings in Malik Foster for Charleston. And let's see, I think that is the domestic stuff that we'll get into. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo involving our buddy Ben Jacobs and what's going on here. I mean, man, this dude is busy. I'm trying to track him down. It literally is trying to grab Comet by the tail to try to get him on the show. So Ben Jacobs, what is going on with everything overseas? Nottingham Forest have reached an agreement to sign Napoli forward Lorenzo Luca, loaned with a €40 million option to buy for Fabrizio Romano. First on it, that deal set to be formalized in the next 48 hours. Genoa's Jeff Ekator is an option for Crystal Palace if they don't get Siddiqui Sharif. Also has interest from Portugal, meaning Ekator. Genoa prepared to sanction a sale for around €18 million. Direct approaches this winter for the Italy U21 striker. More coming up on the flip side of here. Now, it is that time where we go from one end of the planet to the other, and we get to see what's going on in MLS because it has been a very, very busy week. And we get to see what it looks like with all of our friends in and around the planet and find out what is on the mind. We found out what's on the mind with our buddy Nino Torres. And when he can dial in, we're going to catch up with our buddy Niko Moreno and find out what's going on with him in Major League Soccer. So before Niko comes back in, let me keep going over more signings and pens over paper. West Ham, Kyber La Madrid is joined on loan from Deportivo La Guaira with an option to buy. And 22-year-old underwent a medical a couple days ago. Also on the board, let me see if we can slide through. Crystal Palace have had talks with Wolves over Jurgen Strand-Larsen, valued around £40 million, viewed as a replacement for Mateta if he departs, brought to England by Crystal Palace sporting director Matt Hobbs when he had the same role at the Molineux. Now, it is time to go to Seattle and find out what's going on in Major League Soccer through the mind of our buddy Niko Moreno, sounder at Heart and Pulso Sports, and the Providence and Swedish 5-minute oil change and voter registration booth. What is going on, my friend? It is another week for you and me in Major League Soccer as everybody's in training camp. Are they going to send you to Spain for like next week?
No, I just got the news that unfortunately I will not be making that trip. So we could start there. Absolutely. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to shake and rearrange some of the previous personal calendar items that were set in stone by my head of security, better known as my wife.
The boss.
Yeah.
The boss.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I know exactly of which you speak, sir. Nino was on for you, and he had literally, there's something that is in the talking circles in Peru. And there was a question that was brought up, and folks in the Twitch pitch want your response to this as well before we dive into the week in Major League Soccer. Would you rather have your favorite team win the large domestic tournament or regional tournament, or would you rather have your nation's team win the World Cup? And when Nino was having this conversation with folks in Peru, they were like, "No, we want to win. We want to win Libertadores. We don't want to win the World Cup, because then that means having to celebrate with our rivals, with the fans of the teams that we hate. So we want our team to win Libertadores instead of Peru winning the World Cup. Would you rather have a team win the Triple C in CONCACAF, or would you rather have your team win the World Cup?"
Well, that's a phenomenal question. To me, it's a no-brainer, and maybe it's because my teams have been there, done that. Nacional has won Libertadores twice. The Seattle Sounders have won CCC and CCL at the time. So perhaps that's the reason why I would think that there's no other answer than Colombia winning a World Cup would be phenomenal. I mean, that is the one team that ever since I have any recollection of watching soccer, I have been excited about and heartbroken about every single time, whether we've had phenomenal teams with all the expectations like the 94 Colombia team, or that they've kind of earned your heart and kind of filled your emotions like the Colombia of Brazil. I mean, that team felt like a squad that was going to get through all the way to the final, but didn't. So yeah, it definitely, to me, is a no-brainer. Colombia winning a World Cup would be phenomenal for a nation that has grown tremendously at that national team level and as a league in general. So yeah, no, for me, Colombia winning a World Cup would be phenomenal. If it happened here in the United States, it would be even better.
Yeah, because he was saying his feedback was about 50-50. And literally it would be like, because he's an Universitario guy, it would be like, the folks that hate Universitario would have to celebrate with Universitario fans if Peru wins a World Cup, and they're like, "Well, no, we don't want to do that. So we want our team to win Libertadores." I thought that was just odd. I would think that you would want.
It was surprising, yeah.
That you would want your country to be number one on the mountain, and you want to be on top of Rainier. You don't want to be sitting there in the foothills by SeaTac, man. You want to be on top of Rainier celebrating with everybody.
Yeah, no, that it's honestly surprising, especially for a nation and a group of and a base of fans the way Peru has. That if you look at the last two World Cups, I mean, they travel better than any nation, even about as good or better than the Mexican fans, which are always one you can count on when it comes to World Cups. So yeah, that is very surprising.
Okay, let's get into Major League Soccer in the week that is and the week that was. Seattle is in Spain. Toronto is heading to Marbella, and they're driving over, and they'll be over there in a couple of minutes. And what have you been able to partake, see what's going on, or are they just kind of hiding in plain sight in Spain right now with Seattle? What have you been seeing so far?
There definitely has not been a lot of content by the club or availability so far, but it's fair. We just had a week of training the past week. We got to talk to several of the guys. This week is in Portugal is explicitly about conditioning, and that was what Brian kind of stated. That's what he once again said this week in a very short, not very news-filled interview he gave the team, obviously by a team staff there. But he did mention that there was going to be some formation and tactics components that they might get into, but they won't play any games, and I don't think they'll focus as much in movements and passing patterns and pressing and all that stuff until they get to Marbella. So far it's probably pretty uneventful. I think that the biggest thing I would say is that I've continued to hear that the group is getting along phenomenal, and that the new guys have come in and they have settled well with the rest of the team, and that's huge news. That the young guys sound very hungry and ready to show what they're able to do in some of these preseason games. Prior to the team leaving, and we did not get to discuss this because obviously it was in the afternoon, we got to talk to Jesus Ferreira, and I thought that everything he said was tremendous. He talked about having to be at the facility and doing all the testing and running, because he pushed himself past being sick. He had the flu, like high fevers, but he kind of felt like he needed to be there to set an example and to kind of continue to build from last season. So I thought that was great. And then he maybe shock some people by saying that his goal is to be in the 2026 World Cup. He said he feels like he has, and I quote, I have a, oh no, maybe I won't quote, but he did say, I have a very good chance. He seems very confident that if he's able to perform with the Sounders and he's able to put it all together, he would, without a doubt, maybe get a chance at being called up by Pochettino. So I thought that was great because it does motivate a player that was very good last season, that is looking to be a leader in this team, and that extra motivation of, potentially or hopefully trying to get into a World Cup is just amazing. So all in all, and I'll repeat what we said last week, the mindset's excellent from the Seattle Sounders, but particularly in this tour, European tour between Portugal and Spain, the biggest thing is going to be building what they had last season and building off of what they had last season, in that group being very together, very cemented.
Couple of teams I wanted to focus on, one in the Western Conference, one in the Eastern Conference, and then if there's anybody else with movement from the week or to keep an eye on, we'll go from there. But Houston seems to be interested in really just flipping over the table, and they want to bring in, it seems like they want to bring in like 98 different dudes and kind of almost start over at points, because they brought in Nick Marcanic. We know what Marcanic was able to do with Charleston in USL Championship. They've got him loaned back here to this particular side of the Atlantic. There's the Mati Bogish conversation that is out there. The numbers, to me, I think are too steep. 6 million plus 4 million and a sell on, to me, that's a big number to bring Mati Bogish from Cruz Azul. But Houston, they don't feel like they're messing around a whole lot coming into this year because of all of this movement. And I know that it's going to be interesting for continuity's sake, because we mentioned Bozat, we mentioned Lucas Halter, we mentioned Guilherme, Ache, and now Nick Marcanic is in, and the idea of Bogish. So, I mean, Houston's still adding pieces here. I'm intrigued, but it might be, for me, a bit too steep.
Maybe it's too steep, but that has been Houston's new attitude towards trying to shock this team back into relevance, if you will. I mean, even the first Ache contract, was a gamble. It was pretty big. It didn't quite pay out. And the fact they're continuing to stay on course and say, look, well, that didn't work out, but let's bring him back on a lower number and let's keep adding on to what we already have in this roster is great. And I mean, this is a loan, and loans are always good for you to be able to figure out if a player is going to come in. He gives you an opportunity to have a high potential high salary guy or potential high transfer guy for the meantime. So Houston, I think they see the writing that we've been kind of setting here in the show, is that the West is for anybody to go out there and grab. And although there are 2 teams or 3 teams that are likely going to be at the top of the pyramid, you're able to get yourself and be a protagonist. And so, Agustin Bauza coming in, the fact that, Gilmar is going to be an interesting player. I mean, they're shooting for the moon, and they should. And this is going to sound crazy because I didn't really think he was going to be as good as he was with Houston, but I thought that the coaching clearly has been set there, and there's been a new culture set up. And after talking to Niko, who had a small spell there, this is a squad that definitely has a high expectation of that group. So to me, I think Houston is is planning on being a real problem next season. Do they have enough? Do I think that Bogut is going to be able to give you that next level? Not necessarily a player that I think is going to take the league by storm, but when you have all of these other elements, I do think he's going to be a very productive player.
Yeah, I know. I'm wondering the level of patience in both the front office and with the fan base with all of these new folks, because it's going to, and everybody will sit there and say, "Well, that's what training camp is for." But yeah, training camp and exhibitions and preseason stuff is one thing, but when you're playing for points, it's something else. I'm just wondering about the level of patience and how long it's going to take them to get together as a group in game state, so you won't have a repeat of what happened last year. And if things aren't, going great off of the jump, I just wonder what the level of patience is going to be with all these new faces, even though you should be patient. But sometimes, shoot, these days everybody's looking for instant gratification on stuff like this.
It's a great point. I think that the leash will be short, even for Ben Olsen, right? I mean, it's going to be a thing where, look, we're giving you all of this new players. We're giving you everything that you've asked for. We're trying. It has to be a winning team. This fan base has been sick and tired of not being relevant for a very long time. I've heard from guys like Glenn Davis, who is no longer going to be a commentator there, but he knows the team very well.
Yeah, don't get me started on that one.
Yeah, we won't get started on that, but I do say hey to my guy, one of the best in the biz. But every time that I talk to him, he's like, man, the culture, there's no culture. He wishes that the academies, were better and that there was a better system and all these things. So you bring up a good point, because sometimes just throwing money at the problem isn't going to fix it, and maybe it's deeper rooted than what it is. But at the very least, Houston should be fun to watch. But that leash will be short, and they will be demanding results right off the bat for this Houston Dynamo team, which maybe sounds crazy because they haven't necessarily been a team that has had a lot of expectations. But with all these moves, you do put a lot of pressure on yourself.
Okay, so then we mentioned all of those moves, and then we got to talk about Pretty in Pink. We got to talk about Messi and friends, and one that is now in the barn. They needed to bring Allende back, and they got the loan deal. Loan deal ended, and so they just it's like Celta de Vigo. Hey, here, and they took care of that. So Allende back, key piece to them up front last season in the run to the title. He's now back under the umbrella. Now you have Cesar Luis Merlo reporting yesterday that the Germán Berterame deal done. It's not officially official in the eyes of Messi and friends out of the Fort Lauderdale offices. Cesar Luis Merlo says done. New signing, and the numbers once again: $15 million from Messi and friends to Monterrey for Berterame, and you're getting now a new striker there. $10.5 million to Monterrey, $4.5 million to Atletico de Madrid, and it looks like it's going to be a 3.5-year deal, and for Berterame to be one of those bridges when Lionel Messi decides at the age of 74 that he's finally going to retire. So Super Deportivo reported last week, Inter Miami, Messi and friends offered 15. Rayados reluctant to accept as the amount was less than the $20 million agreed upon in the release clause. But right now, 3-year deal is being reported. Option for a fourth, 15 million euro going to 15 million US going to Monterrey from Messi and friends to bring in Berterame. Not officially official yet, but it looks like it's close. Yet another challenge by this front office and this ownership group to the rest of Major League Soccer.
Yeah, as far as I've been able to tell and find out personally, what the term that was used in my conversation was that they've come to terms, and that is club, player, club, right? Both clubs and the player have all agreed to the move. There might be some things that needs to be finalized, of course, and that is always the case. But when I hear that term, is usually pretty clear cut. Obviously, Ciel Merlo, a guy that reports, and it's definitely it has to be taken as almost a certainty. I think that's a done deal. There was a lot of pushback, and I don't know if there's been enough reporting on this, but Monterrey's front office and those around the team, they weren't happy with Berterame leaving. I mean, the the tournament for Mexico is getting ready to start. There
Mhm.
isn't a replacement on the horizon. Obviously, ownership has said, yes, we have some guys in mind and this, that, and the other. But what I've heard is that there was quite a few members of that front office that did not want to take this deal. Part of it, not just the 15 million, but it's just what is the replacement and what is our contingency plan going to be for Monterrey to be a team that, as always, needs to be leading the charge in Liga MX. They've done it for a long time. This is a proud fan base. It's a proud team, and Rayados is always going to be a team that you need to be counting on for CONCACAF Cup now, for Liga MX to win it all. So I think that was part of the issues that were happening with this Berterame negotiations. But it sounds like everything's said and done. Now, when it comes to Miami, I mean, they're going to be the Dodgers of MLS. I mean, they're just a team that just gets better and better and better. They are a better team than they were last year after they won MLS Cup. I praised them for not being content, now shooting for what I'm sure is going to be winning CCC. They want to win the regional tournament. Berterame does put them that much closer to that objective for being able to do it. But there has been a lot of extra glazing on Inter Miami that I don't necessarily love. I think that you can praise and acknowledge that Inter Miami is putting all their eggs in the basket, and they're shooting for the moon, and they're adding a lot of money. But this idea that all of a sudden Miami has discovered fire is odd to me. I mean, what do you discover? That if you throw a lot of money and you have a bigger checkbook than the rest of the league, and you're able to put a super team, you're going to give yourself the best chance to win? I mean, that's just obvious, right? I mean, that is just what it is. Same thing with people having this narrative that every team should be doing what Inter Miami is doing, and there's these teams that are using DP spots and stuff. Go look at La Liga in transfer market and compare what that roster amount of money looks like, and it's Real Madrid, Barcelona, and everybody else. And there are some teams that Real Madrid and Barcelona are spending 10 times what some teams are spending. So it's not about the structure, the DPs. Is just that the reality of the world is that in every single league, there's always going to be 2-3 teams that have the resources to take over the league. And it's about those other teams without those resources to find a way, find a system that works to make them achieve their objectives, whether that is fighting for titles, or in many cases is just not getting relegated. Go ask Godoy Cruz in Argentina what their objective is. Yeah, they've shown up, they've had titles and things like that, but for the most part is let's just not get relegated. I mean, that's plain and simple what they want to do. So I just don't like those narratives being compared and added to this whole Inter Miami thing. But I love the move. I'm not hating on the move. I'm not hating on the club. I hate the narrative in this sense of this is what everyone has to do and this is the only way to win. Atlanta United is the prime example of you can't just throw money and you can't just buy a whole bunch of players and hope that you're going to win. We've seen it with prior teams like Cincinnati being the biggest spenders in the league and not being able to get anywhere with that sort of money. So that's all I wanted to rant on. So I'm sorry, but Berterame,
yeah.
But Berterame, love it. Phenomenal. I would say probably one of the best strikers in CONCACAF, if not the best striker in CONCACAF. I think he's going to work perfectly with that system. I think that he's going to, at the very least, score 15 goals this season in MLS if it all gets finalized, as we all think that it will. So Miami's going to be a problem. There's no doubt about that.
Well, and to your point, and there are different ways to win things. And you can look at this, and I think it should be looked at two separate lanes of traffic here. If Messi and friends and the Moss brothers and Raul Sanlehi and that front office, if they want to sit there and act like Scrooge McDuck or Cartman rolling around in the singles, and if that's their approach, cool. You can interpret that as, okay, we want to challenge the rest of the league. Well, first off, we want to challenge the league. We want to challenge the league in how they operate. You know, like you're getting to the point legitimately where you're staring at a fourth DP. You know, fine, great. You know, if you, I think that, you know, if you've got the setup of 3-3, then if you want to go to 2-4, meaning three DPs and 3 U22s, for me throwing out just short-term shorthand here.
Yep.
I think if you want to go 3-3, that's cool. If you want to go 2-4 and get the extra Garber bucks, that's fine. But I think also if you want to go 4-2, then you ought to have that option as well. If you want to have that fourth DP and not have that reliance on the U22 system, which is what we're seeing in Fort Lauderdale, fine, let them have that option. You may not necessarily get the GAM benefits that you're getting for going to 2-4. You might not get that extra, what is it, $2 million in Garber bucks.
Yeah.
Go 2-4. But if that's your way, great. If you want to sit there and be the Dodgers, if we take the Dodgers of Major League Soccer as your example, you're going to have those teams that are the Dodgers, that are the Yankees. They're going to be the ones that screw the luxury tax. We don't care. This is how we want to win titles. That's cool. That's fine. That's great. That's your way. That's up to you. But if you have clubs that want to develop from, say, a Philadelphia standpoint, from an Atlanta United standpoint, from a Seattle standpoint, where you have money that you look for talent. In Seattle's case, you develop through Tacoma, you bring in the young talent, you bring in an Albert Rusnak, you spend money on your key veterans. That's your prerogative. You've got the mix. You've got to sit there. You're making the Dagwood sandwich. You're sitting there and you're bragging all the luncheon meat in. You're making the big sandwich and it's got all the luncheon meat and it's like 3 or 4 slices of bread. That's your deal. That's great. Fine. Do it that way. If it's with Atlanta United, where Atlanta United comes through the academy, you've got all that young talent. You move that talent on. You move some of it on. You sit there and you get benefits from it from the sell-ons. You reinvest it in yourself. You bring in the high-priced talent. Make the Dagwood sandwich. Fine. That's your way. Find your way. Don't be bent out of shape if someone's doing it differently. But if you're both being successful, find your way and be comfortable with it. Don't sit there and look at what's going on in Fort Lauderdale. Don't sit there and look at what's going on in teams that want to spend $9 gazillion. Let them do that. Let them find out how to figure out how to pay taxes on that stuff. That's their prerogative. Find your way. Be comfortable with your way. Just don't be the Pittsburgh Pirates about it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. And that's the reality. This radical ideas about how everything should be done by this and that or the other, or that relegation, no relegation MLS is what allows these teams to be you know, okay with losing and there's nothing to lose for it. Just look at the amount of changes and ownerships that have happened as of recent. I mean, look, it's obvious that if you're an owner with a team that you can't keep up with being able to find a way to win or bringing in more talent, you don't want that brand to devaluate. You want to just cash in and ship out. And that's what happened in Sporting Kansas City now. They now you have a new majority owner and the Sounders are looking for new investors. I mean, that's just the way of the world, because no one wants what comes with being a losing team, which is loss of brand, loss of revenue, lose fans upset. So it all comes together, and that's all part of it. And look at Vancouver. I mean, last season they were in a CCC final. They were right there in the making of trying to make it for a MLS title. And they did it without, breaking the bank. I mean, they had a very good collective unit. They gave up their DP mid-season to Pumas. They were able to figure it out. They had their own way, and that's exactly what I wanted to focus on. So I appreciate you adding on to the conversation there. If I felt like I had this just thing that I needed to get out of my neck. So I appreciate you helping me out.
No, that's why we have 2 hours every day to sit there and have these kind of conversations. Our intrepid producer, Ricky Ricardo, has let us know that the league has announced the transfer window dates for 26, with several amendments to rules and regs. Primary window, January 26 to March 26. That's primary window. So it's 2 months, January 26 to March 26. Secondary window opens July 13, closes September 2nd. So with that, extending into September for the first time in 2 decades, excluding 2020, conclusion of the MLS window aligns with the top leagues around the world. So now MLS is July through September 2. They're taking that secondary window and they're lining up with everybody else. It's another one of those steps as they get ready for the schedule flip coming up in a little bit. And so once again, league says MLS gives MLS teams a greater opportunity to acquire high-quality international talent in their run to the playoffs. In addition, FIFA approved a request to allow MLS's 3 Canadian clubs, Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, to adhere to the registration periods established by U.S. Soccer rather than Canada Soccer. So they're not bound by the Canadian soccer windows now. Since they are franchises in Major League Soccer, they get the U.S. window to help themselves out as well. So that is that's what you're staring at with the new rules there. Dates for roster compliance is February 20. Roster freeze is October 9. And then you can do ITCs. Let's see, per FIFA regs, MLS clubs can request ITCs, international transfer certificates of a player under contract in another country only during one of the 2 annual registration periods fixed by the. I feel like I need to sit up a little straighter here. In another country, only during one of the 2 annual registration periods fixed by the relevant association. The first registration period must be a minimum of 8 weeks, but not exceed 12. So, okay, so that's requested required reading also, in addition to the number stuff that we talked about at the Athletic off the top. So, bottom line is that the new rules and regs are out in the windows, January 26 to March 26, July 13 to September 2, and the 3 Canadian teams can stick to those windows and not the Canadian windows. That came out about 6 minutes ago. So that's your bolo for the day when it comes to transfers and looking at that. Anything else on your radar before you go and get cup of coffee number 3?
The Joao Klaus to Galaxy is one that it's going to be an interesting move. Obviously, it got reported first by Tom Bogert, but I had been looking into it because there was a couple of teams that were interested in Joao Klaus, and that goes to what I wanted to add on to Bogert's report is that Bogert's report is that I had been told that that Joao Klaus had already expressed his interest about a potential move away from St. Louis at the end of last season. So I'm not saying he asked for a trade, but he expressed that he'd be more than happy or more than okay with going somewhere else. So whether he was on the trade block or not, I have yet to confirm, but that's kind of what it sounds like. There is no other way to put it than, his time in St. Louis has had a lot of ups and downs, some because of injuries, but he's a striker that has had some really big moments, and that if he does go to LA Galaxy, he fits that bill. I think that he's a guy that's going to be great on hold up, that he's huge and can give them a real presence inside the 18, that he can work with Nacimiento and allow him to continue to develop. He doesn't have to be the guy that could work well with Christian Ramirez, that I think he would allow those wingers to come inside and become other additional strikers in the final third, right? He could hold up, he could allow him to push through, get those overlaps. I just think Klaus is going to be an interesting player for the LA Galaxy. Sounds like they haven't come to terms necessarily yet, but there's a desire from obviously Joao Klaus to go somewhere else, and I think this would be a great landing spot for him.
It looks like the number's around $2 million in the intra-league transfer trade deals. Greg Vanny quoted as saying he's an interesting option. My understanding is we're in some discussion, but I don't know how close we are. I think he gives us some uniqueness to the up top. To the top, having someone of his stature and his quality is not a bad thing for us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what Greg Vanny says there. One question from Tom H. Tom H. Before we get out of here, any Obed news? Is the fact that he's with Mexico instead of Sounders any indication?
No, everything's still the same. Is what I've been reported. Somebody added me on CL Merlo saying that Obed will be leaving or could be leaving in this transfer window, as if that was news, but it's Merlo, so I guess it's news because he says it. But that's exactly what we've been reporting over the last 2 weeks. I mean, we've entirely put shows just about the Obed possibility. So no news additionally to what we've talked about. The closer we get to the end of the winter window, the more likely I feel like he would be gone. There is going to be an effort from the club to move him on. There's an effort from his group, his agents, his representation to get him a good deal, to move him on. So I do think that there is a lot of interest, but there has not been an official offer that has been interesting enough to say that he'll be leaving. But I think that that's one to watch on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis until the end of the transfer window. So yeah, he going to Mexico is just normal. That's his objective. The Sounders know that they want to have him take that opportunity and potentially be in the 2026 World Cup. So they allowed that to happen, although this camp isn't FIFA mandated. And that's why, the Sounders could have said no, but they definitely allowed him to go because they want to push, they want to support him to potentially get into Javier Aguirre's team for this World Cup.
Okay, so since you don't have to go to Providence and Swedish tarot card reading, fortune telling, and voter registration booth because they're over in Europe, what's going on at Sounder at Heart and Pulso Sports?
Yes, of course. We're going to be doing our typical What We Learned this week on Friday. I have potentially good interview today. Have not heard back from the PR team. They had told me that it was going to be today, but I texted them earlier. So we might have something interesting happening there at Sounder at Heart. It's going to be a really fun interview, but I won't say the name until it's all said and done. But just check that out. We might have something interesting happening there for a very good interview with Sounder at Heart's YouTube page. Of course, on Friday, as I mentioned, we're going to do our usual What We Learned this week. On Monday, Lobbin Scorchers with our Little Wall. And on Pulso Sports, if there's any availability through the Sounders, in whether it's via Zoom or whatever they want to do it with in a virtual setting, we'll definitely be there and add that into Pulso Sports. And you can, of course, watch this segment of SDH at some point in the next couple of days in case you missed it. So, yeah, go ahead and check that out.
What he said. As always, my friend, great to see you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Be safe, be well. Enjoy the news coming over from Europe. We'll catch up with you again next week. Good to see you.
Thank you, John. Have a good one.
There he goes, Niko Moreno, heading through the end of Cup number 2, heading toward Cup number 3. And we are incredibly grateful to have him as a part of our SDH family clan and letting us know what the heck is going on over on the other side of the planet. All right. Quick news out of Pretty in Pink. Messi and friends officially have now signed Rocco Rios Novo on a permanent transfer. That literally just came out a second ago. Now it announced that it is a permanent transfer from Lanús, signs a contract running through 28-29 with an option for an extension until 29-30. And now he remains on at Messi and friends on a permanent basis after an initial loan last year. So Rocco Rios Novo is now officially permanent transfer from Lanús through 28-29 with an option for 29-30. So that's news there. And I'm going to bounce around with news from a bunch of different places. Tormenta had their media day yesterday in League One. They've signed a Canadian forward, Dario Zanata, and he comes in once again pending Federation League approval. 2 seasons with Pacific FC in the Canadian Premier League. And since they, I believe, no longer exist, so that comes in as a free. And so March 8 is the season opener for Tormenta, hosting Spokane Velocity at Tormenta Stadium. So always great to see what's going on there with Tormenta. And we are efforting conversation with Tormenta as they get ready. They're in camp officially as of yesterday. And so we'll keep an eye on what's going on with them. Okay, recapping where we are and pulling the bookmark out from where we were. Crystal Palace held talks with Wolves over Jurgen Strand-Larsen with Alex Crook. Breaking that with Talk Sport, Strand-Larsen valued at around £40 million, viewed as a possible replacement for Jean-Philippe Mateta should Jean-Philippe Mateta leave. And he is interested in leaving. Strand-Larsen brought to England by Crystal Palace sporting director Matt Hobbs when he had the same title at the Molyneux. Toby Collier, loan move from Manchester United to Hull City. Looks like that's going to be completed by today. Bournemouth reached an agreement in principle for Greek keeper Christos Mandas, loan with a conditional option to buy. So that comes with Lazio. And then once again, that's Crook and Jacobs with the news on that. Okay, so gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, and juice boxes for Europa and Europa Conference. We'll get you into all of that stuff. Looks like that the first matchups in both is about 12:30, so you'll be good there. Not to hang out with. We're not going to be on until 12:30, but there's no 10:45 or anything like that to make it a multi-screen experience. Okay, so AC Milan, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, target for Aston Villa, looking to bolster their midfield ranks since Boubacar Kamara had the knee injury. Loftus-Cheek has also been offered to Manchester United. They're kicking the tires. Villa have inquired about Youssef En-Nesyri from Fenerbahce in the last 24 hours. He's going to decide his future soon with Napoli and Juve also interested. That comes from Fabrizio Romano. Spurs considering a £25 million move for Crescencio Somerville from West Ham. 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Liverpool interested in Mickey van de Ven, who has yet to sign a new contract with Spurs. 4-letter paper. And apparently Spurs are looking at some astronomical figure to let Van de Ven go. Manchester United set to tell Bruno Fernandes they want to keep him for another year. They want a decision from him before the World Cup. 4-letter network. Forest is going to allow Koulibaly to leave on loan this month, with Kostas Tsimikas currently on loan at Roma among their list of targets. Forest have had an offer for Napoli defender Matias Oliveira rejected, but remain in talks over the Uruguayan international. That's from Tuta Mercato. Celta de Vigo have submitted a formal loan offer to Wolves for Fer Lopez, would cover all of his salary. That's from Sky. Real Madrid considering a move for Ruben Neves, who's open to a move away from Al Hilal. Manchester United is also keeping an eye on that. That's from AS in Spain. Cole Palmer willing to return to Manchester to join United, although he has a contract until 2033 at Stamford Bridge. Barcelona want to sign Bernardo Silva on a free when his contract expires at the end of the year. Brentford defensive midfielder Frank Onyeka being chased by Sheffield United, Coventry City for a January move. Valencia is also interested. That's an interesting 3. Schalke have reportedly agreed to terms to sign Edin Dzeko, who only joined Fiorentina in July. That's from our friend Florian Plettenberg. According to Tommy Scoops, Josh Sargent has played his last match for Norwich after the heated meeting with Ben Napper, the sporting director, and head coach Philippe Clement. He wants a return to North America to join Toronto FC. Once again, we had been discussing the $18 million price tag. After the meeting with Napper and Clement, according to Bogert, Sargent was visibly upset. One source, there was a comment made regarding his family, which was the last straw, continues to train with the second team, pushing for a transfer to Toronto FC. Norwich says that he is not for sale. And then Sargent has just welcomed his 3rd child, and the family wants to go back to North America. This is from the combination of Tom Bogert and Paul Tenorio. And it goes back to the Friday conversation with Philippe Clement leading into the weekend, where he said wasn't going to feature against Wrexham because of what has currently been going on. The $18 million bid was posted. Clement said back on Friday he was training with the second team. What he did is not acceptable for anybody in the club. He knows, and that's the situation now, so I don't think there's much more to say about it. How long he remains with the U21s, according to Clement, depends on him. Norwich is not going to budge from their position. Sargent's not for sale, now that even though they are now officially out of the relegation zone. And that was a point Clement had mentioned going into last weekend. Although he did say, quote, there needs to be an amount where the club agrees with that. It's big enough to do the situation now. So club continues to have conversations with Toronto. And like I said, they want to go back to North America. Sargent's contract with Norwich runs through 28. Sources say there is a relegation clause in the deal that would permit him to go at a significant discount if Norwich drops to League One. And right now, they're a couple of points above the drop zone, and it's because of their recent run of form with Josh Sargent not in the lineup. Clement, once again, not going to happen. Said this already a few times. Club's in a relegation battle. You have a player who's a 2.5-year contract still. It's 6 months. Everybody's focused in building the club. Coming out of the situation the club is in. Clear for everybody who has a contract here what the club thinks about it and how important that is. That's the situation. Remember, also close to FC Cincinnati, back in the summer 24. Norwich demanded north of 25. FC Cincinnati came with 20. No deal. Norwich, and then accepted a $28 million bid for Sargent this past summer to Wolfsburg. Josh Sargent turns it down due to personal reasons. And so you have this back and forth right now, 8 goals, 3 assists, all comps for Norwich, 6 of the goals in the first 5 games of the season, 2 goals in his last 19. So that is where Josh Sargent currently is. U21s and not playing with the first team. And right now you have in the EFL Championship, we mentioned the table. We mentioned that Norwich is one of those old teams in the bottom half that was struggling, having been in the Premier League. Right now, they are 2 points from safety. 30 points. They've won 3 of 4. 28 matches in, and so you have 18 to go for Norwich. Portsmouth has matches in hand. Blackburn, Oxford, Sheffield matches in hand. But right now, Blackburn, 28 points. Portsmouth at 29. Norwich is at 30. West Brom, with our friend George Campbell, is at 31. Charlton, Athletic, Sheffield United, both at 32. So 4 points separating 6 teams from 17th to 22nd right now in the championship. So they are in a relegation scrap. Just to keep you up to date on everything Josh Sargent and what is going on currently right there. So you've got that particular piece of information involving Josh Sargent and what's up with him and what may not be up with him in the future. So also on your spreadsheets involving everything with our gossip, rumor, and innuendo, we mentioned the Josh Sargent element that was attached to the new go-round. Once again, $18 million was the offer from Toronto FC, and I think that they're probably going to sit there and go, well, if you get relegated, could be a lot less. So we'll see what happens there. We mentioned Siddiqui Sharif with the Angers. Wrexham is now looking at Sharif, and they have launched a bid of £19 million to chase after him. Once again, you're competing with Crystal Palace here on this one. So we'll see what happens. If Happy to Be There FC is interested, we'll see what the bid looks like. Middlesbrough, once again, might be chasing after Brighton winger Jeremy Sarmiento and are attempting to gazump Birmingham City's deal after they had already agreed on a permanent transfer. Leicester's looking at David Datro Fofana, might be priced out of a deal. 8 goals and 15 on loan at Karagümrük in the first half of the season there. And see if there's any other. Matt Targett, you might remember, on loan from Newcastle to Middlesbrough, has had a recall clause extended as the Magpies consider whether they're going to allow him to finish the season there. And so that is what you're staring at with all of your gossip that is attached to the league as we know it. All right, so what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, brought to us by our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. You go there. That link is important. It helps them. It helps us and helps you by adding more matches to everything you're already watching. With Fanatis, you get all the BNs. You get TSA matches from Argentina, more leagues from across South America, all in one place. One subscription, one home. Fanatis at fntz.co/soccer down here. And you also get to watch the Copa de Argentina. And you got to see Midland knock out Argentinos Juniors last night in the 8th round of PKs, where the keeper had made a save. And he's motioning to all the folks in the line. Who's coming up next in round number 8? Me. Put up the stop sign and launch the PK to send Midland, who is in the 2nd division. Jason thinks that they're in the 2nd division for the first time ever, that they are there in that tournament, and they have knocked off Argentinos Juniors. So big win for Midland last night as you look at things and get to see all of the things with our friends at Fanatis. And so you get Fanatis there, fntz.co/soccer down here. Europa League, doubleheader, CBS Sports Network, Fenerbahce and Villas at 12:45, Roma Stuttgart at 3. FS2 is running the league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote. Fox Deportes simulcasting it. International friendly with Panama and Mexico at 8 o'clock tonight on Fox Deportes. Simulcast on TUDN. Fox ONE and the foxsports.com also going to that league that we don't talk about. Paramount Plus has all the matchups in Europa League, either at 12:45 or at 3, and they've also got Lincoln City and Burton Albion at 3 o'clock in League One. A-League was very early this morning on the women's side. Now, let's get you into said juice boxes, and we'll blow through them quickly. And we'll go through Europa League and Conference League. And here's the deal. Here's your 12:45s. Europa League. Bologna favored a -139 at home against Celtic. Midtjylland to plus 102 on the road at Braun. Fenerbahce favored against Aston Villa at home at a plus 141. Feyenoord a minus 238 at home against Sturm Graz. Freiburg a minus 476 at home against Maccabi Tel Aviv, who's a plus 1,200. Malmo is a dog at home to Red Star Belgrade at a plus 258. Red Star's a minus 104. PAOK favored at home against Real Betis at a plus 125. Real Betis a plus 210, draws a plus 239. Victoria Pilsen, a dog at home to Porto. Porto at minus 128. Pilsen a plus 373, draws a plus 250. Young Boys, a dog at home to Lyon, who's a minus 143. Young Boys a plus 366. 3 o'clock. Roma favored at a plus 112 to Stuttgart at a plus 112. Stuttgart a plus 229. Nottingham Forest on the road, slight favorite at Braga at a plus 159. Braga a plus 172. Celta de Vigo favored at home at a plus 134. Lille a plus 204. Dinamo Zagreb minus 139 hosting FCSB at a plus 369. Ferencváros and our friend Stephen Glass, assistant to Robbie Keane, they are favored at home against Panathinaikos at a plus 133. Panathinaikos a plus 206. Nice, even money plus 100 against Go Ahead Eagles at a plus 224. Rangers a plus 114 hosting Ludogorets Razgrad at a plus 211. Salzburg a plus 110 hosting Basel at a plus 209. Utrecht is a plus 197, a home dog to Genk at a plus 134. And then in Conference League with, let's see if we have games today or if they are tomorrow. Traditionally, they are today. They don't play again until February 19th in the round of 16. So it is a Europa Day, 12:45 and 3 o'clock on Paramount Plus, with matchups being simulcast on CBS Sports Network, 2 to NA, and the like. So it is a busy day across the board, and we can't thank all of y'all for being a part of it as well. Tomorrow, in addition to getting you ready for the weekend, we are going to catch up with another one of the first-year teams in USL League One, Fort Wayne Football Club. You might remember DeMarcus Beasley and his efforts to try to bring Fort Wayne Football Club to the fore. They are now officially on the clock, and we are going to be able to catch up with we're going to catch up with folks in the front office for Fort Wayne and find out what it's been like to build from absolute zero. Sporting director Oliver Gage is going to drop by at 10 o'clock, and we're going to find out what is what's on Oliver's mind, what it's like hanging out and trying to build something from scratch with Mike Avery, who's been a part of the Fort Wayne soccer scene for the longest time. But your DFO, DeMarcus Beasley, Oliver Gage, the sporting director. Gage will be with us tomorrow at 10 o'clock, in addition to getting you ready for the weekend and going across the board. So it's going to be a very, very busy day getting you ready for the weekend. If you've still got to go out and shop, probably do it today. Just go out and do it today. The rush is going to happen. It's going to be drizzly today if you're here in the footprint. It's going to be colder if you go closer to the Mississippi River. So if you got to shop, get it done today as I sit here and look at the Big 55 and see what's coming. So we'll be back at it again tomorrow, less than 22 hours. We almost made it to 11:30 because of all the stuff going on. So as always, great to catch up with each and every one of you. Thanks to Nino. Thanks to Niko. Thanks to y'all as we get you ready for another go-round of SDH AM in a little less than 22 hours, almost 21 and a half hours. But since it is the end of the show and we're back at it again at 9:05 tomorrow morning Eastern time, that means I get to do this. Get to run the show close. I'm going to go get some lunch. Be safe, everybody. Be safe. So you can be back here at 9:05 again in the morning. Play it safe, everybody. Mucha plats, y'all. We'll catch up with you tomorrow.